Welcome to Scripts and Giggles with Shoshanna
and Marnie.
So, last week was really fun with our guest, Elijah.
We're not calling them Elijah. I listened back to it and I decided Elijah is a name, Elijah is a character from a song.
I would love to know what people thought of who she was, where she was from, because she was thrown off.
I forgot about that. That was quite funny. Let us know, even if you think she was even a she. Could have been a small child that we brought on. A small male, prepubescent, a 9-year-old boy who was hey, I'm Elijah, and I'm an actor.
I think she mentioned a few times, or referenced her gender, I think.
She referenced her big boobs.
Yeah. God. If you're listening to this, Elijah, we're really sorry.
Big boobs.
Yeah, also, over the weekend, it was Marnie's birthday.
It was Marnie's birthday. I'm a birthday girl.
Yeah. And I got her a gift.
Which I'm going to open live on air. And it's going to be very riveting for the listeners because they can't see anything.
Yeah, not a single thing. So we have to really, make this sound exciting.
ASMR.
Yeah. Want to see all the ruffles. Unwrapping the gift.
I'm really excited. I love gifts. Gifts are my love language.
Really?
So Shoshanna has told me that she's madly in love with me by getting me this.
Gifts are like the bottom of my list.
That's crazy. I love gifts.
For real?
I love giving gifts. I love getting gifts.
No.
Ooh.
Giving gifts. I like giving gifts. I don't like... I love getting gifts, of course. But it's not at the top of my love language list. It's actually at the bottom.
Okay. After all of that, this better be deeply fragile.
I hope so.
Ooh, it's a carafe.
Because Marnie loves to take a lot of my wine at my house. So I thought I'll get her something fancy.
I love a carafe. My sister and I went out for lunch on my birthday and we went to a restaurant where you could get a glass, a carafe or a bottle.
Ooh.
And we got a carafe.
Oh, yeah.
My sister called it carafe. And I said, oh God, you unseasoned peasant.
Well, I was still calling it a cravat, so...
A cravat!
So, I may be just with her.
I want to open this, even though I don't need to because there's a picture on the front, but I feel like this was a really good choice. What made you think that this was the right design for me? Because I'm quite particular about things that go in my home.
I just thought it looked nice. I like the design. It didn't just look like a plain crafts. Crafts. Yeah, crafts. Goodness me. I should be able to spell it.
I'm planning to, when I get around to it, paint my kitchen yellow.
Ooh.
So I want everything to sort of roughly match the colour scheme, which is sort of grey, yellow.
Nice.
Glass.
Well, hopefully this glass carafe with gold.
There's no tea.
I know, in my head it does. But with gold detail will go well with your...
Are you a linguist?
I am.
You can't speak.
I think that's what makes it interesting. You know, with coaches who are if you can't do, teach. If you can't speak, teach.
Shall I do my next gift?
Yeah, that's the carafe. That was the first gift. The second one is... I'm really hoping there's no labels. But this one... apart from the branding of ASOS.
£2!
Idiot.
Oh, some fluffy sleepers.
For when you came around my house.
At least we're here.
You could keep them here or you could take them to yours because now it's a little bit different.
These are really soft.
But
I do have slippers at home, so I might happily keep them here. Are you going to wear them though?
No.
My fear is that you'll put them on when I'm not
Why?
here.
Because I have my own sliders and I have other sliders.
These are luxury.
But I also
describe them to you. They're like brown, furry.
But I also have my own sliders up, extra fluffy sliders.
What made you feel like this was me?
I wanted to get something that was simple and nice but interesting, but also something a bit darker in colour, especially if you're wearing socks in my house.
Did you get them because I'm black?
Don't do this. Because it was between that, a grey, and I really like pink. And I
actually have grey sandals and pink sandals, so I don't have brown.
And that's one of the reasons why I got it.
Oh, I don't know whether to leave them there and take them home.
It's up to you. It's up to you.
Oh, there's a card. I will open the card. And there's a card.
Yeah.
That's private, listeners.
That's a nice message. But happy birthday, Marnie.
Thank you for happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Marnie.
Thank you.
I hope you continue to
grow
and learn and grow old. As someone who's older than her.
I don't know, that felt like an attack. That felt like a personal attack. Grow old. Thank you very much. It was. Yeah. I haven't quite come to terms with the age. Like, even thinking it in my head, I'm like, that doesn't make sense for me. That doesn't seem an age that I'm at. So I think I will remain 28.
I'm so done. You can't be taking 3 years away.
Excuse you?
I've just exposed your age. I think we just have to accept we're in our 30s.
You 3 years away, I'm actually 24.
We are 3 years away, 24.
I'm 24.
And I'm the one who's the linguist.
I just turned 25. Yeah.
All I have to say is just, I think we have to accept we're in our 30s. And I think being in your 30s just means a different level of responsibility. Your eyes are opened.
Personally, I have a plan in the next 2 years I will be pregnant, and that's that on that. Okay? I told my colleague who has 2 children and she just laughed in my face.
But it can happen. You meet Bae, you get pregnant straight away. In 2 years you can have a kid.
No, that's not my plan. At 33, I had a dream about this and it was like,
Yeah.
I'm 33 and I'm pregnant, I know that.
Oh, so you're pregnant while you're 33, not just okay. I thought you were, baby is here.
2 years to sow my wild oats.
Sprinkles.
Sow my wild oats. And then I'll just settle. As soon as I hit 33, whoever's the closest man, like...
No, don't do that.
You.
I am just going to give it to God and we'll document it. Like we said we would... or some of our dating stories and dating scribbles.
I'm really open to the idea of co-parenting.
When you say co-parenting with someone else?
Yeah, just picking someone and be like, should we have a baby?
No.
No, not for you.
Not me. No, I'm just saying.
I'm saying for me. Like, I could do that.
Would you with a friend? Like, would you do it with a friend or with someone that you like, you're friendly with, but you kind of feel that there could potentially be something there?
No.
Because
as in a friend.
Okay. Because I was listening to a podcast, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was on TikTok, and there was a dilemma where the woman was doing a friends with benefit, but she really wants to have a child, so she came off her birth control and then hooked the guy by getting pregnant.
No, I would never do that. I say to a friend, you want to have a kid, I want to have a kid.
But
listen, we're having no luck in the dating field.
Yeah.
Let's just get this done. I'm looking at this as a project. If we do this now, then no matter what happens from here onwards, we have had the child. We have a child. We can say we did it.
True.
And then if I go meet the love of my life, I have plenty more children.
But that's my...
And if I meet the love of my life and I don't want to have children, like I don't have to have children, because I have my little baby I have with my mate.
But will you, like, are you happy that your husband is going to know your friend who is the father of your other child?
Because we're friends. There's nothing romantic here.
How is the baby going to be conceived?
The same way that Jesus Christ was conceived.
Immaculate Conception?
No. Holy Spirit. I don't know.
Oh, you mean Holy Spirit? Yeah. Holy Spirit will get you there.
Maybe we'll do the old turkey baster thing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you decide to do it the old-fashioned way, then you do have to have a conversation afterwards to say, and that's that, right?
We will never do that again.
Yeah, because what you don't want to happen is that after that, you're like, I mean, that was kind of fun.
Like, no.
This is all the wrong way round. That's not what this is about. So I think let's stick to turkey baster.
Yeah.
And if the turkey baster proves to be expensive, I'll close my eyes. I told you, my old English teacher used to say, it's just 10 minutes with your eyes closed, think of England.
I can't believe she even said that. Well, I can't believe that she even said that.
There were rumours that she was in fact a lesbian.
Yeah. There's rumours that most of our female teachers were.
Not Miss...
You can say her name, like no one.
Not Miss Bond. I met her kids.
Oh, why did you meet her kids?
She brought them and when we were in the school play, we would do rehearsals on a Saturday or a Sunday. She'd just bring her kids.
Okay, I mean, yeah, it's on the weekends.
Where'd she put them?
That's
exactly why I want a co-parent. I don't want my kids in my house all day, every day.
So you can just give it to the friend. But
their father, not a friend. He's not doing me a favour.
Just, you know what? Just tell me how things go, and I'm so keen to know who this partner would be.
I have a couple of potential suitors.
I'm sure you do.
People whose company I enjoy.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Who I could imagine myself being at a graduation, being like, we did that. We worked so hard. They're going to be the Prime Minister. We did that.
If you're in this arrangement, like, I don't judge anyone, because, it's hard out there in the streets.
If you're in this arrangement, please email the show. Email the pod. I want to hear about it.
Yeah. Like, we can talk about it.
I think trying to make a couple workers work in itself, I want to ensure that I'm having a child with someone who I will not eventually hate.
That's true. That is true.
That's what that's about.
Because if you've been the result of divorced or separated parents, you don't want that.
Exactly.
In your children.
Whereas my mom, you're at school, be like, mom and my dad, best mates.
Yeah.
Chill vibes. My mom hangs out with my dad and my stepmom. My dad hangs out with my mum and my stepdad. Everyone's really happy. I got two sets of parents. I got siblings everywhere.
It sounds like a TV show.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot. But yeah, tell me how it goes at 33.
I will. Check in. Let's see if the pod's still going at 33.
Yeah, we can have a discussion.
Yeah. But should we get into pop culture news?
Let's do it. There's so much to talk about. So, there's been a lot that's been going on this week in pop culture.
Pop culture has been occurring.
Goodness me. Okay, where do we start? Jonathan Majors.
Well, did we not say, podcast listeners, we'd be back? Because there's more to this story. And as of this week, there are more people with allegations against Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
I feel like the problem with situations like this is that, like, where we've got to as a culture, in terms of, like, mistrusting the news and information that we even consume ourselves, 4,000 people could come out in front of this man, and if you don't believe it, you don't believe it.
Yeah.
4,000 people could come out and say, he has personally victimised me, and you would just say, wow, they found 4,000 actresses.
Full stop.
Yeah, either you believe women or you don't believe women.
In the same breath, yeah, 4,000 women could come forward and say he's the best guy ever, and no one will believe him. It's honestly, the best publicity is the worst publicity, i.e. the news that will carry the most stories, and it's usually the bad news, will get people talking, and even if it's innocent, which we need to wait and see after these allegations, no one will believe.
Do you think race plays a factor?
150%.
Because I think so much about how Johnny Depp didn't necessarily refute. Like, Amber Heard wasn't proven to be lying about her abuse claims. It was that whatever the case that they were trying, she lost.
Yeah.
So there are allegations that this man beat the shit out of his wife that have not been refuted, actually. And he is still in the Fenty show and is still being cast in shows and films.
Yeah.
So, like, clearly we don't care about all women.
No. The Fenty one surprised me more than anything. I know it's
unpleasant.
Yeah, it's so minor in comparison, like, to his career, but that one did shock me.
I rewatched the show a couple of weeks ago, and, like, when he popped up again, I was like, why would you do this?
Yeah. Unless it was a statement, like, I don't know what the statement could be, but, like, maybe believe victims, because Rihanna herself was a victim at one point.
Like, so she decided to cast Johnny Depp?
That one, to me, I still don't know who was part of the casting decision, but I would assume that Rihanna is across everything to do with her show. There's something very cynical about the casting of Johnny Depp on the Fenty show. But with the Jonathan Majors situation, I just feel like something that somebody pointed out on the internet today that I thought was interesting was that, like, it felt very much like they his PR team or himself were trying to brand him as this, like, the poster child for anti-toxic masculinity. Like, there was a shoot that he did where he wore a pink shirt and, like, the world was divided. Oh, he's gay, what, a black man in a pink shirt, blah, blah. And then all the women were like, wow, this is a man in touch with his femininity. Like, end the stigma. He's bringing down toxic masculinity one by one. And then it turns out he is choking and abusing women. Allegedly.
Yeah. Which I just think is, like, if that turns out to be true, how much of that was orchestrated then in order to cover up whichever they thought was coming?
like, who knew what about him? Because I do think that, of course, Jonathan will know that he's been an abuser, or maybe he doesn't. He's not aware of what his behavior can, or the consequences of his behavior, which is nuts. Because if you're out there beating women, like, it's gonna come out. And
but
the other thing,
he was going to get away with it. There's multiple allegations. So there's multiple women you've done it to who haven't come and said anything.
Yeah, and also like who in his team, his inner circle, and also like the PR team, his management knew about this as well, because as of this week, he's been dropped by. Firstly, it was his PR company and PR team, which I think is one of the biggest signs, because if your PR team wants to distance themselves from you, they probably
can't spin it.
Yeah, they can't, and they know something. Also, I don't think they were the biggest help with him anyway at the beginning, because when this news first came out about the allegations, they were like trying to send text messages. They kept on saying like, you know, he's innocent, and there's a lot of talk from his team. I don't think they helped his case either.
No, they leaked the thread between him and the alleged victim, where they thought, oh, people read this and think it's obvious that she's lied. But actually, when you read it, it comes across as a woman in an abusive relationship saying, I didn't mean to get you in trouble. I'll go down to the police and say you didn't do anything. Please talk to me. Please don't be mad at me.
Yeah.
So it didn't fix anything at all, actually, those messages. And he's quite abrupt and all cut with her, which is like, bring me back my keys, which is a bit weird because, like, regardless of whether the allegations are true or not, she did have to go to hospital to be treated for her injuries. So something had happened to her. So I feel like if I was in a relationship with someone and they mysteriously had bruises the last time I saw them, and even if the police ended up questioning me, I'd be like, are you okay?
Yeah. Like, how are you? How are you feeling? Like, there's no care.
None.
No.
And equally, if I hadn't done anything and then the police came and knocked on my door with like, your partner say you did this, I'd be messaging you being like, are you okay? And like, what the fuck are you talking?
Yeah.
So you're telling people I did stuff to you when I didn't. Like, I just feel like the message definitely didn't read like an innocent person, the way that an innocent person would usually behave. But like, I also don't want to subscribe to that, because people have been innocent in the past who haven't necessarily conducted themselves like innocent people.
That is true. That is true. But following his PR company dropping him, he's also been dropped from a number of different projects, including the adaptation of The Man in the Basement, a film adaptation of the 2004 novel. He's been also dropped from negotiations around the Otis Redding biopic, which would have been amazing if he was part of it. But they will find another amazing black actor to do it. Like, come on. So the only other big name that people are thinking he will be dropped by, and I think it's going to be very imminent, is Marvel. Maybe by the time this comes out, he's really dropped by them, because, perfectly honest, with the multiple allegations that have now come through, Marvel will not stand by it. And the thing is, they're not going to spin it either. Unfortunately, he was going to be a real key part of whatever the next phase of the universe is. And I am a big Marvel fan. I mean, I love the cinematic universe phase 1, but all the other phases that have come after it, I've not been the biggest fan. But he was supposed to be like the next like thing of phase 5. Whatever the next phase is supposed to be, he was supposed to be a big part of it. Marnie's looking at me as if I am like, I don't know, if I've just slapped you. I
don't even understand the language that you're using.
Marvel fans, get up. Avengers assemble. Avengers assemble. Let's just say that.
Why can't you just say what film it is? Like, what do you mean phases?
No, because there'll be different films that are coming out, and he's supposed to be like one of the key talent in those films. Anyway, all I know is that I think his career is pretty much done. Whether he's innocent, which I don't know if I believe. Allegedly, we don't know, but I think there's more to come with this story.
Yeah, I said last time, let's wait and see. And it wasn't because I was like, he will be exonerated. I was like, there is a lot more under the hood here than what we're getting. And I still think there is a lot more to come. So is it depressing? Absolutely. And given the review topic of this week, it made me just feel like, are we getting to a point as an industry where someone was saying, oh, you need to basically DBS check your actors?
I think you should, because if you have to DBS your for like something that's unscripted and reality, you have to DBS check them. And we will talk about reality.
Remember last year when a bunch of criminals were on TV who didn't get DBS checked
that
at
was
all.
Married at First Sight UK. That was a mess. But I think you need to be doing those checks on your people. I'm sorry. Like
Brennan?
Yeah. From Love is Blind.
So are those DBS checks even working? But you're right. It feels like we need to do some sort of check, and then the other depressing thought is, after you've DBS checked everyone, who's going to be left? Because it is rife in this industry.
It's true.
You'll be lucky to get through a production of a show that isn't in some way marred by somebody. Not even problematic. I wouldn't even call this problematic. Criminal behaviour.
Yeah.
What? And this is also in the information age where we are able to share that knowledge. What the hell was happening back when we don't even know?
Oh, this is when they were keeping it under wraps. This is like when growing up, I used to love documentaries on E, which is so ironic. But it was the E True Hollywood Story, because it would always give you like the archives of what's happened to the lives of these celebrities. And the stories, I mean, it never could go into too much detail, but in terms of like showing explicit things, but the stories were wild in terms of like the issues, the struggles that they faced, the abuse, the racism, loads of things that in today's day and age we would find out very quickly because of the likes of TMZ. Whereas then you only found out after the fact. Like Judy Garland, for instance, abused as a child, abused while she was in Hollywood growing up, and then, you know, as a result became, you know,
an addict.
And suffered very much in her older age before she died pretty much prematurely, because, you know, I think she only died at the age of 40.
Yeah.
So like a lot of these things which was probably hidden or like just within the circles. So
well, we'll just keep our nose to the ground for that Jonathan Majors story as it develops. And
he will be going to court for the first allegation in May. So we'll definitely have a podcast that will give a bit of an update into it. Then we will do our deep dive.
Yeah. I feel like at this point I have enough information to write a video essay about the way the Black community struggles to deal with stories like this. And the fact that we have to deal with it as a community. Like, I feel like Kevin Spacey, there weren't a bunch of white people having to come out and defend or chastise him. It was like a free-for-all.
Yeah.
Why? But like, I feel like when it comes to a black celebrity, the like politics of like the good black role model comes into play, and then everybody's like, there are people who are basically mourning the potential of Jonathan Majors. Like, you could have revamped our entire image. I feel like there's a part of people that always hope that like one star will turn the tide.
Yeah.
For us, and suddenly everything will be great, equality will exist, racism will die. And I think we just need to, all of us, examine why we think that it's an actor who is basically a regular person who happens to be on screen will be the chosen one, the Messiah who will be the best of us.
I think that kind of rhetoric and narrative is dangerous. I do think, and I am sad about that idea that he was such a rising star. This is Jonathan Majors, an actor beyond what he has been doing behind the scenes, but he's a rising star and he has so much potential. And I think that's a sad thing to think about. Like, you had so much potential, but you, from your own actions, could potentially ruin it, or pretty much in the free fall. The same way with that guy from Empire, the one that hired that Nigerian guy. I mean,
Justice Smollett.
Yeah, to this day, I still don't know what happened.
They were Nigerian twins. Well, they weren't twins; they were brothers, but they refer to them as twins, which is crazy because they're not. That story, we'll do a deep. We'll include that in our black community deep dive. Why are we being harassed by these men?
Yeah, it's just wild.
But shall we
move on
until we discuss it again? Shall we move on to Love Is Blind?
Whew. So we've talked about Love Is Blind every single week
so far. Yeah,
on the pod. On the pod. And if you don't love it, there'll be time codes you can skip, but I'm telling you, this season has given. I think, apart from season 1, series 4 is up there with the second best season, because there was so much story, so many different characters. I mean, we had drama from all sides, including the live reunion, which we will talk about the live aspect. And I just think that this season, if we want to wrap up the season, before we talk about After the Altar, whenever it comes out, has been weirdly enjoyable because of how chaotic it has been.
Yeah, let's get straight into
and the love too.
I mean, I think that's questionable. But let's get straight into the reunion, because I think it has... I wouldn't say split Twitter. I'm not hearing anyone say anything positive about it. But let's start with the first issue, which is that this is the first live reunion of the franchise, and, well, at least the American branch of the franchise, and everyone was like, oh, this bit's going to be so juicy. We're all going to stay up to watch this. Well, on our end, we would have been staying up to watch it.
Yeah, 1 a.m,
on the American end, it would have come out about midday. Midday?
No, they come out in the evening. Yeah.
Early evening. And when people switched on to Netflix, the reunion was not available.
Nowhere to be seen.
I remember getting the code saying it was going to be on at midnight or 1 a.m. here.
Yeah. Woke
up the Monday, went to download it because I was like, well, this has been on for 7 hours. And it was not on the site.
Yeah.
Saw a little thing saying it's going to be on at 8 a.m. At 8 a.m, it still actually wasn't on the site.
Yeah.
I didn't watch this reunion until I got back home at about 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to watch it live because I do it for the pod, but I also really enjoyed this season. And also I want to see it. I want to be part of the conversations on Twitter or see those conversations go. I'm not going to comment. And so I was planning to stay up. I overslept slightly and it was like 1:40 a.m. So we were supposed to get 1 a.m. in the UK. And I clicked on my Netflix and it just said like, it's not available. And I was like, what is going on? And then I went back to sleep and then woke up to... I went on Twitter before I fell asleep again and saw all the news. A lot of people were talking like, where is the episode? This wait is so long. Brands were chipping in as well.
Yeah, I did see the roasting.
Yeah, Netflix did say that it was a technical issue. And yeah, so it wasn't ideal. It definitely wasn't a live reunion. It was just a normal reunion. I think they did film it. They had to shoot something. So what the initial plan was it to be shot live. They weren't able to. So when they finally came back on, Vanessa did say that it was taped.
Yeah.
And so what people were watching was a taped version of Love is Blind live.
So technical issues aside... The episode now starts. What were you most desperate for them to get into, and did they actually do that?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing for me is important to know who's together. And like I had predictions, like I talked about it last week, that I had predictions that Kwame and Chelsea weren't going to be together by the reunion. I was wrong. I also had the feeling that Bliss and Zach were going to break up because of how Zach was looking quite dishevelled. I was also wrong on that. So all I wanted to know was everyone, like, who was in a relationship. I knew Brett and Tiffany would be together and happy. They seemed to be. Actually, they went into a bit of the challenges that they faced, but all in all, they're happy. So that was the most important thing for me to know. Second thing I really wanted to do was grill Kwame about some of the things he has said and how his behaviour with Micah, and go into that. I also wanted them going to Irina and Micah, and most importantly, I wanted them to talk to Jackie. Sorry, I said 2 things. I meant 4.
A lot of things.
It was like 4 things. Sorry.
I think the thing I was most... It's interesting because once the reunion started, I was like... The thing I was most looking forward to, and the thing that they immediately did not deliver on, was the Irina and Micah situation.
Yeah.
Because when they said, oh, Irina's here, I was like, right, so both of them are here.
Yeah.
Grill both of them. Separately, it sort of felt like they brought Irina out to speak for both her and Micah, which was annoying because it was like Irina had her relationship with Zach, which was entirely on her own. She apparently had that she was meddling in the relationship beyond when she left.
Yeah.
And then she had the stuff with Micah in the pods. Micah's involvement in that, she never had to answer for.
No.
In fact, she ended up being like, guys, leave Irina alone because it's really hard. You guys are not thinking about, in the pods, you don't really know. Like, you could just misbehave and it's really hard, and everyone on the internet giving her a hard time. And I was like, hold on a second, you should be absolutely getting dragged as well, because you're trying to play victim. in your relationship with Paul, but you are not a nice person.
Yeah.
And why should we root for you? They never answered that, I felt like. Like, they really were trying to position her as the victim in this reunion, but I was like, what about all the women that they laughed at and trolled who were also in tears? You're in tears now, so why should we not laugh at you?
I mean, they showed a package where they showed Irina and Michael laughing at the other women, but nothing else really came from that. It was just like, oh, look, they were being mean girls, but nothing was even vocally said. Nothing was vocally said that they were mean girls. It was just like, oh, there's a bit of drama and tension, and then Irina had to speak up for the both of them. And I think, honestly, Micah really was riding on those coattails that she got dumped at the altar, so that worries me. And, you know, it doesn't matter really that I was part of this, because I'm suffering through a heartbreak, and I found out on the day that the reunion was released that Paul didn't think I was maternal, and that part became her narrative for that. So, yeah, you're right. I think that was a big scapegoat, and I really wish that was addressed. And I also wish some of the women on the panel did speak up as well. And I realised, I mean, apart from Bliss and Zach, who were doing a lot of talking, no one else really wants to be part of the drama.
Yeah, I feel like that's why, unlike you, I wasn't excited to see Tiffany and Brett, because, you see them and then I spend the next 60 minutes in silence.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand, at least in the previous reunions, it felt like they at least, even if the couple had no drama, they would go to them and we'd spend some time with them in the reunion. What have you guys been up to? How's it been for you? But it kind of felt like an afterthought. It's like, oh, Tiffany and Brett are still here. Tell us about how perfect your life is. And I get it. It's kind of like, as a producer, I would not spend time on them as a couple because there's nothing to talk about. But they were there.
They were there. And the one thing I would say, actually, that's quite interesting with Brett and Tiffany, I know they didn't have much drama during the show. They didn't argue at all during the show, which I think a lot of people were like concerned about, because they never argued before they got married that we saw. Yeah. Apart from like Tiffany being stressed about the wedding planning. But I did appreciate when they said, actually, we have faced some challenges since getting married in terms of Tiffany moving to Portland. Like, I think when Brett did say, like, I wasn't the only, like, Kwame, however much he crapped about Portland, he wasn't the only one that lived in Portland. He did too. And that's why, everyone just remembered Brett talking about his really nice house and how he could buy another apartment for the two of them. But actually, for him to do that, Tiffany had to move over. And so I liked that they were realistic in terms of the challenges they faced. But as a whole, like, fan watching this, what else would I have got from them apart from they're together, they're happy, they have some cute moments together? That's pretty much it.
There was a moment where, so Irina was saying, basically, Vanessa and production seemed to make Micah the victim and Paul the villain. Yeah. And at one point they give Micah the floor, and Zach is like, I'm not having this, actually. I feel like this is gross unfair that you were trying to portray yourself as this perfect victim when you didn't like Paul. And they're like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, I have been in the car, and I know there are female members of this cast that have been in the car who heard Micah say disparaging remarks about Paul. And they're like, well, who said it? And not one person admits it. I'm like, the problem with the show is that, like, everyone is I feel like everyone is self-aware, which I'm sure any season of any reality TV show has this problem. But I think the way that the episodes are aired gives these people time to interact with the people who are saying things about them. Like, I've been, ever since it has aired, every single time I open TikTok, I will be shown a TikTok about Love is Blind. Yeah. Sometimes I'm shown 3, 4, 5 in a row. Yeah. So it is spewing content. Yeah. And I feel like if you have consumed that or interacted with that in any way, when you come onto the reunion, you're just thinking, don't give them any more fuel.
And that's the thing, and that was one of the reasons why I felt that this reunion, in comparison to others, was so contrite, because everyone was so aware of how their image would look. So no one wants to speak up, no one wants to be part of it. I don't think anyone wants to be there, let's be honest. And
I think Irina wanted to be there.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Irina and Micah loved being there.
Yeah, they would have loved it, but in the same breath, I don't think Irina, she tried to apologise. She could do the best that she could. The person who had that moment was Zach and Bliss. But I think because adding the live element, or what would have been the live element to the show, I think that everyone realised and got a bit shook and said, I don't want to be part of the Twitter conversations, and I'm not going to do like a Brennan, like last season, where Brennan, very comfortable in his relationship. He's one of few couples that are still lasting in this franchise. But my guy was chatty patty, jumping in anytime there was something else happening that he didn't like. So I thought it's quite interesting how you switch the tables a season later and no one wants to say anything. Everyone can give great facial expressions. Marshall, Kwame, even Brett, like during that Jackie interview, but no one wants to speak up.
Yeah. And it just made the whole reunion just like not get below the surface. Like I'd learned more about the show from TikToks than I learned on that reunion. Like the only things that were vaguely interesting to me is this idea that Micah was making it clear to everybody that she didn't like Paul. This drama with Marshall, which I actually did think was quite interesting, that he had started dating someone while he was on the show.
Yeah, or just after he left the show.
Yeah, and all of that stuff, I was like, oh, this is genuinely interesting. This is tea. But it felt like one piece of information each.
Yeah.
So 2 pieces of information over an hour-long reunion.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here listening to people tell me about things I just saw.
When I realised how repetitive it was starting to feel was the second half, particularly like at the hour mark, where I felt like they were just asking the same questions to Kwame and Chelsea all over again.
Have you met his mum? Is his mum real? Is his sister real? We can confirm his sister's
real. I'm like, shut up, Vanessa.
Oh, I would like to clarify about the Alex Kwame thing. I was like, in the grand scheme of things, nobody's here about this. We are here about the Marshall Jackie of it all.
Yeah.
Maybe the Michael Paul of it all, but mostly the Marshall and Jackie of it all. I don't care that your name is actually Alex. It doesn't matter.
I will say 2 things. Alex, Kwame, and Chelsea were fighting for their lives.
Yeah, they really wanted to.
They really wanted to stamp that they are together. They are happy. This was the relationship they were supposed to have. It's been over a year. They're still together. They didn't really make mention to the challenges they faced. I think they kind of glossed over that there has been challenges, but to me, they were fighting for their lives, fighting for their image, particularly Kwame. Even when Vanessa and Nick showed the video with Micah, also there's a clip where Micah and Chelsea are having a discussion where Chelsea's trying to clear the air after Mexico, and it's very interesting that Kwame said one thing to Chelsea and one thing to Micah. So, Chelsea was assuming that Kwame was trying to break up with Micah when he went into the pod, whereas Micah had told everyone that actually she broke up with Kwame.
And she did. She's the one in the pods who says, I don't think we should keep seeing each other. And he says, thank you so much for your time. And then he leaves.
Yeah.
I thought the interesting thing about that was that he was like, oh, I could show you my notebook where I'd written down what I was going to say to her. I was like, the thing is, parts of this doesn't make sense, right? Because if you was coming in there to break up with her, why are you crying your eyes out that she doesn't want to be with you?
Exactly.
Why are you crying your eyes out? And then why are you, when you see her, being like, we did have a special connection, we do have a special connection? You didn't want her, apparently.
Yeah. But
how special was the connection?
I'm sorry, the tears that you were drying and flowing were exactly the same as Jarrett, and how he was crying. He was not Jarrett, is it?
Who?
Jared from series 3, and how he was crying over.
It is Jarrett.
Yeah. What was the name of the girl he was crying over? Yeun, yeah, her.
Oh, it wasn't Iana, it was the Hispanic girl.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember her name now.
But yeah, basically, there's going to be one guy out there in each season who's going to be crying buckets and then married his second choice and say, oh no, all is well. But we'll see how long they last. I do wish them all the best because I feel like they probably faced the biggest challenge in their marriage with just these last 4 weeks of them watching Love is Blind and seeing the Twitter reactions. I think on social media reactions, the only other thing I was going to say to add to that is that I felt like there was a lot of secret comment. No, sorry. I felt like the reunion kept on touching on subjects that was on social media that people may not know about. Like the conversation about Chelsea and Kwame and him being, his name not being
Alex.
Yeah, Alex. Or the sister, like the people not believing the sister and the brother are related to Kwame. Or the actual
Jackie and Marshall stuff.
Jackie and Marshall, and then also the Paul video of him slapping the bridesmaid's butt. I believe him, that he just asked the bridesmaids to move out of the way. Was it a bit touchy? I think so, but I don't think it was purposefully done.
I thought the interesting thing about that was that, like, conveniently, when it came to Marshall's segment, they didn't have the receipts that Jackie had that had Jackie's friend had leaked. So you have we played that pool scene like 3 or 4 times, but you don't have a single screenshot of the messages that Jackie was saying about Marshall. So it seemed like Marshall, apropos of nothing, called Jackie a transphobic slur, and that's why Jackie didn't like him. When the truth of the matter is, to hear Marshall tell it, things had been so bad between them.
Yeah.
That this was a heated exchange after a series of heated exchanges.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It felt unfair to have Jackie not attend and have Marshall get grilled and also be grilled by Vanessa, who seemed very much on
Jackie's
side and not Marshall's.
Yeah.
Which feels like in opposition of what production was doing, because it felt to me like they definitely wanted us to be on Marshall's side.
Oh yeah, I think it just ended up being the case how toxic Jackie became. Mm-hmm. The other thing I was going to say was that the reason why Jackie didn't want to come, she had said on her Instagram or responded to a comment and saying that she was receiving death threats and she didn't want to put the cast in danger. I don't know how much I believe. That being said, Jackie did become an ultimate villain, but it does not, justify people coming with death threats. But
I find the show just it feels kind of ironic, or like, maybe ironic is not the right word, but like the idea that you don't protect these people when they're in the pods. Yeah. At a reunion, suddenly you're like, we must protect Jackie's sanity and safety by letting her video in. Let all of them video in then. Why are we even in the studio?
To me, come on. And in the interview with Jackie and Josh, who she's been with since the pods, or since after the pods, Vanessa interviewed them separately in a segment because Jackie didn't come to the live taping. And this is where I started to get really frustrated, because there were some points where I was a bit, annoyed and a bit like, what's the point? But this was where I was like, it highlighted a concern I had about this reunion with the host, because I don't particularly like Nick and Vanessa as hosts. I don't think they're that great, but I think it's such an easy job in terms of everything being taped and the style of Love is Blind. You don't need the hosts. They're barely there in the season anyway. But I think this was the moment where Vanessa really showed that she wasn't going to be a really strong host. I did say in the last review that I was going to appreciate Vanessa because she definitely comes in more like a fan of the show in comparison to Nick. But this time it's like she was coming as a fan, but for a very interesting... She was fangirling someone that we didn't expect her to fangirl, and that was Jackie. Yeah. So when she was in that taped segment, she started asking questions that were very pointed against Marshall, like, oh, what did Marshall do to push you to the edge, Jackie? Which to me was interesting because I felt like Jackie may have made her mind up already, and I don't think we really understood what was going on with Jackie's mind when she decided to leave. And that question was completely overlooked. So, even Jackie couldn't answer the question. She was just like, there's just been tons of things with Marshall, blah, blah, blah. Then when it got to after the tape segment with Jackie and Josh, Vanessa and Nick were like, Marshall, we want to have a conversation with you now. How did you feel about everything? And Marshall being shocked because, perfectly honest, in that segment, Jackie was throwing some allegations in there. She said the only reason why he wanted to get the ring back after he asked for that ring was so that he'd give it to another cast member. And I'm telling you, all the men on the panel were looking shook. Marshall's eyebrows were going north. Brett's face was going south. Kwame was like, twisted his head and was like, huh? With his great new hairline. Everyone had comments with their eyes. So after the tape segment, when Marshall was talking, and when Vanessa and Nick wanted to find out how he felt, he was like, look, there's so much to unpack. And I feel like I'm going to be the bigger person. We'll be here forever if I try to dissect every single point that she made and try and defend myself. So given that it's now been well over a year, he's moved on, she's moved on, I don't have much to say. And of course, you can't be on the reunion and say nothing. So Nick and Vanessa, particularly Vanessa, was like, let's get into some of the questions. Like, let me ask you a few points that were said on the tape. Marshall said that there's so much that was being said that I don't even know where to start. And then this is when Vanessa starts to get really condescending. Like, since you seem to forget what was on the tape, let me ask you a couple of questions from it. Firstly, one question. Then it was almost like a back and forth of condescension between mainly from Vanessa's side, and Marshall he was feeling the heat from Vanessa, and he was like, okay, cool. And one thing that was very clear with Vanessa as a host is that she does not listen, because all she did was cut people off. Even when Marshall was speaking, she'll cut him off and start asking her own questions. And when she asks a question, she puts her opinion in. So she always tries to put words in people's mouths rather than letting the person that she's asking the question to answer for themselves. So I think the Marshall segment was when it really became clear that Vanessa did a very bad job and she's not good in these spaces. And she was fangirling for the wrong person, because had she heard the response from the audience, which I think she only started to, she would understand that people were not here for Jackie and her antics on the show. And even though Marshall was not perfect, especially when he was out there using transphobic slurs, he still came and he still responded and he still spoke up. Where's Jackie?
My last thought on this was about everyone's been clowning Nick and Vanessa, but I think one thing that I had a really, really big issue with, and I don't even get why production would allow this, is Vanessa continuously asking the couples when they're going to have a kid.
Oh, I know.
That is a personal thing between two people that these people have only been married for a year. Maybe they still haven't really figured it out yet. And you're not only are you asking, but you are on them to tell you when they're gonna do it. And it just felt so unpleasant. I was like, there are people out there that can't have kids.
Yeah. And
your asking could be super triggering to them.
Yeah.
What is gained from a Love is Blind baby other than you, apparently, who's desperate to have another kid but can't because your husband doesn't want one, which we don't need to know, by the way. But that all plays out on stage. Trying to force these couples to procreate.
For her to keep on saying, I want the first Love is Blind baby. They almost threw shade to all the other couples before, particularly the ones that are together, like the Lauren and Camerons and the Amber Barnetts and the Brennan and Alexa. I just felt like it was just a lot of underlying shade with that comment.
Been encouraged by the Ultimatums reunion where the girlie turned up and she was pregnant.
No, but actually that's a really interesting point. But Vanessa wasn't even part of that show.
Damn.
It's just to me, she was giving me African aunties. Yeah, when they ask you where's your man? When you get married? Then when you get married, where's the baby? Then when you have a baby, when are you gonna get a second baby? Leave people alone.
I
honestly.
just think that Netflix should not put people in that position. And there is an article that's come out recently, which I think we should talk about next week, about what it is like to be a contestant on the show.
Yeah.
And it seems like, much like every dating show, it's grueling and psychologically draining and purposely engineered to create the situations like the ones we see on the show.
Yeah.
And I already believe that a lot of these people are quite vulnerable. So to already be quite vulnerable and experience that, nothing good is coming out of it.
Oh, it's hard because we can definitely talk about that article and I'm keen to. But as I said before, for another show, if you're going on these type of shows, you know what you're getting yourself into. I don't feel sorry for you if you put yourself in that position, because you ultimately have the right to say, no, I don't want to be on this show. Most of this time, the people that are on this show get reached out to. One of the girlies that we went to school with got approached by Love is Blind UK to be on the show. And so I just don't know if I feel that sorry for people that go on it. But don't get me wrong, there are vulnerable people with really sad and really deep, childhoods and stories and traumas that, you're right, it does come to life and bubbles to the surface when you're in this type of environment. Like Zach going through his story and his receipts that he put on his Instagram, even though he had just told Irina that she's there for fame. Like, I didn't read all his receipts, but, you know, from what I skimmed, there's some real deep stories about and dark stories about his life. But I agree. I think it's a tough environment. It was a tough watch. I still think season 4 gave a lot. Like, it gave. And I'm happy that we've got 3 couples who got married and who are still together after a year. I know a lot of people were talking about whether this reunion should be filmed closer to the time when they get married. I don't think so. Like, I feel like you need a good enough time for the couples to establish, and I think they have. We just have to wait and see, because after the altar is still coming around the corner, and I don't know who will be here altogether.
Yeah, and low-key, what you want as well is to have those people react in the reunion to stuff that's happening now that their episode's out.
Yeah.
And if you filmed it any earlier, like, the reunion would be kind of redundant, because it's like, why is no one talking about the bum tap or the receipts or Bartice's baby? Like,
oh, Bartice's baby. That was a jump scare when I saw it.
Are you? Jump scare?
Honestly.
But, okay, what would you give this season out of 5?
Ooh. I don't know. I mean, we never rated series 1, which is like one of my favorites. I would give this a 4 out of 5.
Wow, I would give this a 3 for sure.
I think
I 2. No,
I think it's
it wasn't always entertaining. You're lying.
Actually,
some of those couples were really, really boring to watch.
Yeah.
Honestly, Kwame and Chelsea are not that interesting to watch.
No, I know what, I take it back down. 3.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 2.5.
I do think it was a great season. I think it was better than series 3 and probably series 2.
I don't know. The Shane, I really do. I was on the edge of my seat about whether or not Shane and Natalie would end up together. Because I just couldn't understand what she saw in him at all, to even make it all the way to the altar. But let's wait and see what happens with these couples. And should we get into our review of the week?
Let's get into our review from one beef between couples to another.
Wow, they're not even a couple but work. Play the music.
Boom.
So we are reviewing this week Beef on Netflix.
Not chicken.
And the whole podcast. And the whole podcast.
I feel like the spirit of Bligers now.
It stars Ali Wong and Steve Yeun as 2 people who get into a road rage incident and it quickly consumes their lives and ends up destroying them. Yeah. I really enjoyed this.
And surprise you, I think it's one of the best things I've watched this year.
It's on the level of The Bear, actually.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
I got to the end of episode 1 and I thought, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. This is it. This is it. It's this. I feel like the reason why The Bear's a good comparison is this is a character study, like The Bear's a character study.
Yeah.
And it just allows you into these characters' lives, into who they are as people. And I feel like it's so rare for TV shows to do that, because the 2 options you fall into is like your show's a genre show in that it's a police procedural, it's a thriller, it's a romantic comedy, and it needs to tick those conventions. Whereas something like this, it's like the premise is a road rage incident.
Yeah.
But where it goes from there is entirely comprised of those characters' decisions.
Yeah.
So you don't know what to expect. And
no.
I find that, in the same way that you never knew what to expect from The Bear, quite compelling.
Yeah.
Because, like, my story brain, as a person who works in development, as a person who script edits, is what is being set up in each episode to tell you what the next episode is going to be. And with this, I was like, things are being set up and dealt with in the same episode. So I don't know necessarily what's going to happen in the next episode. And that's good, because it means I can turn off my story brain and just enjoy it as a viewer.
And actually it's quite interesting, because we've reviewed shows that have had a very similar, not premise, but in the story motif, i.e. you have a problem, a conflict, and it's solved in the same episode, and it's not been done well. And now I'm finding it very hard to think of an example.
I guess Unprisoned was a bit like that.
Yeah, like there's no real... Even Swarm kind of... Actually, that's a good example. Like Swarm, everything was very much contained. Sorry, let me go even back. Like, everything was, a story was told, it was finished, stories wrapped, done.
Yeah, Swarm as a recent example is a good one, because I'm just thinking of that Billie Eilish episode, and it's like, Billie Eilish is set up and murdered in that episode.
Yeah.
Right? This is not something that's going to continue to develop over episodes. It is here, and it's been dealt with here.
And some shows just haven't, like, executed that well, or some series, like Swarm, have hit and miss and patchy episodes, where some episodes are really good.
Yeah.
And others are not so good because they try to do that same mechanic and it's just not working. Whereas I think The Bear is such a good comparison to this, because when I watched episode 1, I think I felt, okay, there's not much that's happened, but there's something that's happened. And I was trying to put a genre into it. I was like, it's supposed to be funny in some parts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have to be honest, I wasn't laughing that loud at any points in it. Well, there's a few points I did laugh. But also I felt like this was a drama, it was a thriller, it had moments of all that, and I just really enjoyed being in the world, and I didn't realise how much I was going to enjoy being in that world.
It was really interesting, because we talked about this in the office, and somebody said, I didn't find the world engaging, I didn't find it relatable, and I was like, the thing that was interesting for me, in the same way that The Bear is interesting, is they drop you in their world.
Yeah.
And they don't go, you're on a starter bike with training wheels on. They're like, no, you're in it.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
And I feel like, as people of colour, because we exist in worlds that are not built for us, if we live in countries that are not countries of our origin, it's not hard for us to go, okay, we'll figure it out. I think for a certain demographic who are used to seeing themselves on screen, when you try and bring them into a different world, they're like, I don't get it.
The struggle is real for them.
I don't get it. I don't understand. It's so confusing. And it was really interesting being in the meeting, because another person of colour said, I found this really relatable, actually, because it made me think of being, it really encapsulated Asian culture in that, like, having, reverence for your mother-in-law while also finding her to be a massive pain in your ass.
Yeah. Which I think is the same for, like,
every culture.
Every
that's what I thought
like,
was a bit weird. I was like, every culture has this problem. But anyway, but I thought it was interesting that someone actually voiced that, because I feel like in usually what will happen is we just go, Anyway, I really liked it, because it's not my job to try and explain to you why it was good, because I feel like that person hit the nail on the head. For them, it wasn't relatable. For me, I immediately was like, from that first episode, I said, who hasn't been in a situation where they wish that part of them, that primal, angry part of them, could do what it wanted to do, rather than me holding on to. I remember, and I think about this a lot recently, because this is the closest I've been to a road rage incident.
As someone who doesn't drive.
Don't drive. I went to the hospital with my grandma, and she's not very mobile, so when we go out and we're moving for long stretches, I push her in a wheelchair. We get to the hospital, the car park is tiny and it's packed. So we didn't even get to go up to where we were supposed to go. We were dropped some way away. So now, this is a ball ache, because I've got to get the wheelchair out of the car, unfold it, get her in, and push her the rest of the way to the hospital. Anyway, I'm going, I think it's raining as well, and there is a backlog of cars all the way up this car park. And I'm trying to mount the pavement, and it's not it's not sloped.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to lift someone who is like, I don't know, 150 pounds.
Oh my God.
Like, I don't even know if that's a lot, but like, someone who is a good 12 stone, 12 to 15 stone. In a chair. I am not 12 to 15 stone, and I don't lift weights. Yeah. So this is all of my fucking exercise. Yeah. And someone beeps at me. Yeah. And when they beeped at me the first time, I was like, I know, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get on the pavement. I realised we're in the road. They beeped at me again. And at that point, Shoshanna, when I tell you, I turned around to the people, I said to the woman, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Who the fuck are you beeping at?
Yeah.
Like, this woman was in her car. First of all, driving. The car park has it in and out. Yeah. She's driving in and out. So you're already going the wrong way. And you're beeping at me like I'm wrong. If my grandmother had not been there, I was ready to rip the door off this woman's car and drag her out by her hair. I was yelling at her. My mum was like, come on, we need to get out the road. Yeah. I was like, who the fuck do you think you're beeping at? I was almost a different person. Anyway, when I was like, let's go, I said, I got her on the pavement. The whole time I'm pushing her in hospital. Who the fuck does that woman... I said, like, I don't even swear in front of her right now, but I was like, so mad.
Yeah.
I was like, can you not see what's going on? Like, I tried to help somebody onto the pavement. It's not like I'm stood here having the time of my life.
Yeah.
There's nothing about this situation that's desirable. And you beeping at me like I'm in your way is driving me absolutely mental because you're going the wrong way. Two, I've already heard you.
Yeah.
We get into the hospital now, and I was just seething. Like, I feel the adrenaline, like, flowing through me. And I was like, I don't know how to get this out.
Yeah.
I just have to be like this now for the next 10, 15 minutes. And that was kind of scary in and of itself. It's like, why can't you calm down? I was like, no, because that was fucked up.
Yeah.
And so that incident, that moment of being like, no, I'm gonna follow you.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. I'm gonna find you.
I'm gonna follow you. Was like, low key, have we not all been there where we were like, you're not going to treat me like shit today.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in your day and I don't care, but you're not going to treat me like shit.
Yeah.
And then when you unpack these characters, it's like, their lives to this point has perfectly aligned to make this the culmination.
Yeah.
Like, he's already having a shit day.
He's trying to return a burner.
A battery stove.
Yeah, that he's gonna use to kill himself.
That was a scene that I laughed at.
Yeah, I was like...
Where he was like in his room, like, oh, you guys are gonna be so sorry when I'm dead. I was like, this guy's so pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even kill yourself properly. Like, what the fuck? It's like, you know, suicide is not funny, but I was like, this is a really fucking funny
I can't remember that part, but I remember him when he was end of last episode where he's talking about like, oh, the reason why I was in that store to begin with was to kill myself, basically, or to return something because of a failed suicide attempt. And I was like, what? And this is when I thought, wow, they're getting really deep. And I'm jumping forward, so let's get back into the episode that we're in. But yeah.
So like, that already had like, that brought me in.
Yeah.
And then just like, the sort of minority ethnic part of it, which is like, I am not Asian, right?
Yeah.
But I have Asian friends, and I think the thing that aligns us is that, like, culturally, we're not that different when it comes to expectation.
Yeah.
We're different in the way that we're viewed by white people, as in Asian people are model minorities. We're the scourge of society. But actually,
Lord
culturally, especially growing up, when you're growing up and you're going to school, and that's where I met a lot of my Asian friends, we are experiencing the exact same thing.
Exactly, yeah.
And nobody has ever explored the long-term effect on a person that has, right? That desire to do well. Because we're not all going to fulfill our dreams.
No.
Like, some of us, we're going up to the stars, fantastic. And some of us are going to plateau.
Yeah.
And what happens when you're looking at your life and being like, I was told that I was going to be better than this.
If I work hard, I'll do it.
And I'm still here.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting about the minority point because there's 2 points. One, them being both having Asian backgrounds and it being a predominantly Asian cast, even though it did feel like, they're not the same culture as me or not the same background, I did relate to them. Yeah. And I think about our really close friendship group, and we are all a mixture of different backgrounds, I'll be honest. And if you saw us, I was always describe us like a United Colours of Benetton ad because we are so different and different different races. But I remember very early in our friendship when I realised, even though we are so different, we're all first or second generation migrants. Yeah. And we have a very similar story. And we were joking about the way we were disciplined by our parents. And bar like 1 or 2, it was the exact same story. The exact same way, the exact same speech. Oh, my mum had an eye. Yes, so did mine. So my parents had this. There was a very similar way we described being disciplined that made me feel like, even though we're all from different backgrounds, different households, we have a very, just by being migrants or not being in a minority, we have a very similar upbringing.
Coming from cultures that are like, people talk so much about how white culture is like, what's white culture? What's white culture? Like, it's so disparate. Yeah. Whereas, like, there are certain cultures where it's like, collectively as a nation, this is how every single person behaves. Like, I met a TikTok woman who does TikToks. Sorry, I said TikToker.
A TikToker,
Well, she does skits and she has a YouTube show, so she's a content creator. Yeah. And she is also Ghanaian. And I said to her, like, I remember seeing your whenever I see your videos, I'll share them with my cousins and my sister and be like, isn't this us?
Yeah.
Like, this exact situation has happened to me. Because we are all experiencing the exact same thing because we live with people who are created in the exact same factory almost. Yeah. And in a similar way, it's like, there is like this universal ethnic factory and then that splits into whatever country you're from. And then so there are just overlapping things. Yeah. And that's why when I was in the meeting and my white colleague was like, I don't get it, I didn't relate to it, I didn't want to be in that world, it was too bleak for me. I was like, I didn't have that problem. No. I didn't have that problem at all. Because aside from everyone being Asian, which was genuinely quite refreshing.
Oh, my lord, thank you for saying that.
It was genuinely refreshing. What was difficult to follow? This was a guy who, by all stretch of the imagination, is a loser. Yeah. There is no culture on this planet that would be like, he's a cool guy, he's a loser.
He's a bum.
And here is this woman who is, and even if you're not a woman of colour, you can recognise this as a woman, period, of, you can have it all. Yeah. Who is like, this sucks. Yeah. This isn't fun. Yeah. This isn't what I wanted.
She's not satisfied in a life that has been designed to make her succeed and excel.
Yeah. Yeah. And nobody, and it's there's a word for it. I can't remember it now. But it's an exploration of what happens when you hit 30, 40, and you are like, this isn't it.
Yeah. Is that it? Is that it? There's another show, it was marriage, couples therapy, where that was a common theme. Everyone was dissatisfied in their lives, and it was reflected in their dissatisfaction with their relationship. The other thing I was going to point out about the minority point was that I remember last week you said that there was a chance that they were going to cast Ali Wong character as a white woman.
A white man. Middle-aged white man. Her character was originally written as a middle-aged, or pitched as a middle-aged white man.
I am thankful to God that one, it was not a man, and two, he was not white, because
it's a different story all of a sudden.
Yeah, completely different story. And because I mean, they could have made the arc in terms of like the brother relationship, or
but I mean, even what it was saying about race is different.
It's such a different thing. Yeah, and I'm so grateful that she definitely wasn't a white woman, because that would have been like a Karen versus Thing kind of story, which I don't. We see that in real life. We don't need to watch this in the show. Mm-hmm. But I just loved the fact that it was a predominantly Asian cast. That it just felt authentic, and I mean authentic in the sense that yes, these are real families going through real things. And you know what, I think last week I was talking about how I'm just over the whole seeing black stories about or related to guns, gangs, or related to slavery. I just want to see normal people do normal stuff. I know that road rage isn't normal, but everyone experiences it, especially if you're behind the wheel. I just felt this was refreshing. This felt like normal people doing normal crap, but with some exaggerations, of course.
I don't know if I've ever said this to you, but I've definitely said this to a friend that like, what bothers me about diversity and when channels do the push for we want to get more black talent, we want to get more talent of colour on screen, is that it's exactly what you're describing, which is the options to that black talent is, do you want to play a very talented drug dealer or a very talented musician? Yeah. Those are the spaces that we see for you. Yeah. And one of my biggest philosophies as a development person, as a person who makes TV, is is letting black people go on adventures. Yeah. Black people don't get to go on adventures. No. We don't get to go on adventures.
Or if we go on adventures, they're killed first. Because it's a horror story, Scream.
We don't get to go on adventures. And the reason why so many people's favourite media is white media is because there's such a broad range. If you like stories about white women who live in nice houses with nice kitchens, there is an entire brand of that. If you like stories where it's about white men being like, why am I so lame? There's a brand of that. There's literally a brand to suit everyone when it comes to white media. When it comes to black media, we are stuck between crime and rapping on TV. Those are the two things that we're allowed to do. And it bugs me because how many black people, if you are a person of colour, how many other people of colour have you met who are rappers? or drug dealers. I have met a lot of black people in my life,
and
I can count on my hand how many of those people were rappers or drug dealers.
I don't think I can even. I mean,
I can count on one hand.
I can count the rappers, drug dealers. I cannot. I cannot.
It's just not an accurate reflection of our lives, but it makes sense that people who are not us who make the rules
will think that that's our lives.
Think that that's what our lives are. That's what they think, so that's why they continue to perpetuate it. And every time there is media that puts a person of colour at the centre doing something that's not about them being whatever the stereotype of their minority is, it's a win for us. Yeah. Because it's our way of saying, hello, we also have fears, we also have hopes and dreams, we also have existential crises. You guys didn't, white people didn't invent philosophy. Yeah. Everybody's been thinking.
Yeah.
Every country has whatever moral thing that they subscribe to based on some elder that they decided made the rules about what it means to be a person and what you ought to do.
Yeah.
So why is it that only white people get to explore that?
Yeah.
So for me, I love this show, and it was really reminiscent of Everything Everywhere All at Once,
which is by A24,
yes.
and which is the creator of this show as well.
Which, on paper, the exact same description as this, which is you take a genre thing, and then you explore something so much deeper than that. But what you draw people into is, do you want to come and see multiple universes? You're like, yeah. It's like, the heart of that is a story about a woman and her child, and the woman making, coming to terms with the fact that she thought she was going to be something more than she is. Yeah. And then what that shame and resentment has created in her child, who now looks at her and is like, you'll never be satisfied with who I am. Yeah. And that's really fucked up. Yeah. Why can't I just be me? It's like, because I wanted to be something else, so I want you to be something else. Don't you want to be something else? Yeah. And that is at the heart of so many cultures where it's so instilled in us to be better. Yeah. Especially when like you said, you have an immigrant parent who's like, do you know what I sacrificed to get here? Yeah. To give you the life that you have. How can you be using that to be like, I want to be a comedian? No. Go be a lawyer or a doctor. Yeah. We asked you to be. Yeah. It's
so funny to think about it. And the parallels with Everything Everywhere All at Once was at times almost so stark and so obvious, especially the scene episode 8 with the birds talking, and I was thinking about the stones that were talking.
It was a bit too reminiscent.
So much. I mean, I flagged on this podcast that I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once twice, and I fell asleep twice. However, I woke up.
Somehow managed to catch the beginning and the end.
I catch some of them. There was too many universes. I had to take a break between the university jumping.
Wasn't that many?
To me, it was a lot.
That was
a lot. But just to add about one point around authentically representing a community, one thing I have to flag as someone who's a Christian, the way they represented a Pentecostal church in this space. I know it seems, I know there's some flawed characters there, including the pastor and the one that was
jealous. No, but I thought that was even,
it was authentic. It was really when they were using the worship song. I was singing with them. Okay, as someone who knows elevation music.
Two really great moments that this article that I read flagged, which I remember watching and thinking, I'm feeling emotions. Yeah. Was when he goes to the church the first time and they're singing the song, he starts crying, and I was like, it's very rare for people to capture what it feels like to be in church when it hits. When it really hits.
Because a lot of people
and it feels like they're talking about you. That's what that moment felt like. I'm getting emotional about that.
No, it was such a good moment. It felt
like he's sobbing, and I was like, I'm not actually, but in my I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah. And so I loved that moment. I was trying to read up actually on the creators and if they were potentially Christian as well, because or if there were people in the room that were writing that may be a real devoted Christian, and I've talked about it openly, because when I saw that I felt like it's very hard to capture it, and it's sometimes for people who are not Christians, they sometimes see it as they sometimes mock the faith. It felt so authentic. It felt so real. I was singing the song with them as if I was in the church. That's how nuts it felt. Yeah.
Don't you think what happened is because I imagine the room on this, a lot of the talent are Asian.
Yeah.
That it's a lot of people writing from their own experience,
Yeah.
which is, maybe if they're not religious anymore, that was them at one point.
I agree.
The same way, like, I probably could write that scene because I have been in a space like that before.
Yeah.
Well, my church wasn't that fun and useful.
Yeah.
But, like, I know what it's like to be, like, when it hit, like,
the spirits are here, yeah.
I don't know if you've seen Elvis, but there's the beginning of that film is that Elvis hears the, like, praise and worship music floating from this, like, revivalist church across the, like, field, and he goes in there and he gets in and he hears the music and he, like, it just takes him, and then his friends are like, hey, come out, like, we're not supposed to be in here, and there's like this older woman who's like, no, you know, like, the spirit has him, and he's just in there just feeling, and I was like, that is a very specific thing that you can only really write about if you've ever experienced it.
Yeah, so that's why I really appreciated how that was done, because there is a way that people could mock that, or people can twist that, and actually that was a really precious moment. And I again, it's so sad because as a Christian and a Christian that works in TV and works in media and entertainment, I've seen so many portrayals of the faith in a really twisted or a way that's been used for comedy. And when I saw that scene and that they were singing the worship song, and I know it's Come to the Altar, and I was like, oh, I know this song, and I was singing along to it. I was like almost waiting for the ball to drop,
like the punchline.
Like, I was thinking, oh, when are they gonna make a joke out of this, because this is what they normally do. And when he started crying, I realised, oh wait, this is actually a real moment, and I'm feeling that moment with him. And there's no airs and graces about it. It's just showing what the raw relationship with God is. So yeah, I was blessed and also grateful for that moment, but also it showed me again why I appreciated the show and its portrayal, because everything felt authentic, even though the story was wild. Let's not forget the story is actually wild, from like the way that Amy and Danny kept in contact, or their worlds kept intertwining after this minuscule, and as I say, it's a minuscule moment, is a pivoting moment in the show, but it's a moment of road rage where you would never have seen the person really. If after you try to chase him after episode 1, there's a chance that they would never have seen each other again. Yeah. But their worlds kept on colliding. Amy cheated on her husband with Danny's brother. Then Danny at one point was about to wank off to a photo of Amy's butt that she had sent to the brother. And, you know, Danny then befriends Amy's husband. And then Amy, who we all forget the wealth part, like, she was supposed to close this deal with this famous Galleria. Yeah. I didn't know too much about that woman's role.
What I loved about that storyline is because the world of the show is so predominantly Asian, this white woman is there for us to be like, God, white people. And honestly, everything about her, like her wanting to buy his dad's chair so she can put it in her house, where she has 1,000,000,001 chairs that she doesn't care about. It wasn't I love this chair. It's a power thing.
Yeah. It was giving me colonialism, British Museum.
100%.
There was a TikTok going around where a guy had tweeted the British Museum about all the artifacts that they've stolen. Like, they've stolen. Back our share. Yeah. And then British Museum blocks him. And I think the guy was white as well. So I think he was more like making a comment about the fact that if it were... I think it was a joke. It's like, if the museum actually just stuck to the artifacts that were from the country,
it would be empty.
Yeah, exactly.
It would just be a really nice building.
A nice white room.
Nice empty building.
It will look like a set of a Kanye West music video. That kind of play.
She, even like her having a room full of like crowns that looked sort of vaguely ethnic.
Oh, God, yeah.
And there's a great bit where she's like to Amy, oh, when were you last in China? And she was like, I don't know, when I was a kid. And she's like, when you next go, you must do business like the Chinese, because it's like, how many of us as people of colour have had a white person tell us how we should experience our culture?
I've been told.
I remember when I was at uni, my roommate was like, oh, I met this guy and I told him about you, and he said, I don't know how this came up, but he said that he'd been to Ghana and he wants to talk to you about it.
Run away.
And I was like, busy. I've not been to Ghana in years at this point. No, it'd been like 5 years. But I was like, I haven't lived there.
Yeah.
And he was like, I went to this village. Do you know it? And I said, no, because I'm from South London. And he was like, and it didn't stop him. He just continued to be like, and did you know this person? I was like, did you hear what I said? And like, just having to sit there and be like, not this white man. I'm saying man, it was a boy. Not this white boy trying to tell me, yeah, when next time you're in Ghana, you really need to, please. I'd be like, because I spent 2 weeks in Ghana, I'm basically one of you. I was like, one of whom? And that's the vibes it was giving me so much. And like, those moments were really fun because I felt like we're with Amy in that moment, just being like, I gotta say what I need to say because I need this money.
Yeah.
But bitch, shut the fuck up. Shut up, dude. You sound so fucking stupid.
Yeah, and I mean, spoiler alert, the woman
gets
died.
chopped in half.
Oh, that is
that
vicious death.
Brutal.
I'll be honest, there's been in this show, there was 2 times when my mouth dropped. It was that moment, and then the moment with the brother when he jumped over the fence, and the police were like, "Oi, you!" and then the gunshot happened, and I was like, "Oh my god, he's dead!" And then we realized at the end he's I mean, if you have not watched the show, you shouldn't be listening to this.
Hey,
yeah,
you know how the podcast works by now. I want to talk about Amy's relationship with Danny.
Yes, it is.
Let's talk about Amy because I found Amy's story to be the most intriguing because with Danny it was like, I get it, like you didn't live up to your expectation, and because of that it starts to poison you, and then you actively stifle your brother's ability.
Yes.
And that is awful. Yeah. Like, I think the great thing about this show is that, like, these are deeply troubled people who have then done really shit things, and somehow you're still like, I hope you grow from this. Yeah. Like, I didn't want to end the show being like, kill both of these people. Yeah. I wanted the show to end like, please say that they turn a new page and turn a new chapter.
Part of me was like, they either die together or
they get married.
It just reminded me of the Red Table Talk interview with Will Smith and Jada Smith, where they were like, we lie together, we die together, bad marriage for life. And I was like, and I may have like butchered that line, but they definitely said bad marriage for life. And like, that was part of me. I was like, either they die together in this kind of weird, twisted romance, and I know it's not a romance, or they live and grow and become friends, which,
Let's go back to what you just said though, because I remember reading like a synopsis for this, and it said a couple get into a road rage. Yeah. So I was like, Ali Wong and Steve Yeun play a husband and wife who get into a road rage incident with someone else. Yeah. And it ruins their lives. And then watching the show, I was like, oh no, they are the people. And they're not a couple. Yeah. But then I was like, maybe this is a world they weren't they.
That's what I thought. Even the imagery, as again, coming from marketing world, the imagery that I saw on Netflix, it was like of 2 people with middle fingers up. Middle thumbs up.
How would that look like? The ugliest hands I've ever seen.
2 people with their middle fingers up at each other, and they're both shaped as Ali Wong and Steve Yeun. And I thought, oh, maybe they're a couple, and they're giving each other the finger, and it's a really like nice visual representation of them. But no, they're just.
But because of that, the whole way through, I was like, is this the episode where they fall in love? Yeah. Is this the episode where they fall in love? Yeah. And you get to like episode 5, I was like, they've done a lot of actually quite brutal stuff to each other. Like, I don't know how you come back from that. No. But, I'm not going to lie, that final moment where he's in the hospital and she like gets in the bed with him, I was like, yeah!
No, it's love! It's the episode, like earlier in the episode when she falls over. So, oh my goodness, there's so much to unpack.
So, should we really quickly get to... These are the big set pieces.
Get to the beats. Let's get to the beats.
They have this road rage incident. She drives off. He takes down her license plate. Figures out where the house is registered, goes to the
Yeah.
house, thinks it's Ali Wong's husband who he got into the road
Yeah.
rage incident with, goes in the house, realises it's her, pisses all over her hardwood floors.
Yeah.
She then starts giving his business negative reviews on Yelp. Then takes it a step further, starts trying to seduce his brother.
Yeah.
At this point, he's decided, I'm going to befriend your husband and get to you that way. Then they sort of, it feels like a truce has been called because his cousin has come out of prison, and
We'll talk about that soon.
we'll come back to the cousin. His cousin's come out of prison, and he's like, I've got a scheme. Why don't we defraud the church that you've just started going to?
Yeah.
Danny's like, I don't know, I like the church, everyone's been really nice to me. They're like, no, it's a great opportunity to make money, we're going to do it. Meanwhile, Danny's brother, Paul, has decided he's in love with Ali Wong. She's in Las Vegas, he's going to Las Vegas. Drive up to Las Vegas to see her. They have this sort of, non-sexual, sexual chemistry all night. And then the next day... Oh, and then because he's driven off in Danny's car, he's got to come up and find him. Next day, she's doing a keynote address. It's a TED Talk. And this is a character you've watched this point. Tell everyone who will listen, she's deeply miserable. Gets an opportunity and a microphone and says, everything's great. You can have it all. And I found that moment to be really powerful because it's like, this is how we perpetuate this thing, right? All it takes is one person to be like, no, it's shit. It's so shit. For us to all go, oh, maybe this isn't what we want. But we all keep being like, no, but it is great because I have my career and my husband and my child who I don't see. I never see them. And that's great.
Yeah.
But it feels like she's on top of the world. And Danny sees her doing her keynote address and he says, absolutely fucking not. And goes in there and says, you're a person who tried to hit me with their car. You are a nightmare woman and I hope you die. And then her friend, I say friend in quotes.
Oh, yeah.
Decides she's going to go on the trail and investigate because she's become a bit jealous of Ali's
Success.
Amy's relationship with the white investor woman.
Yes.
Who she then ends up marrying.
That part confused the heck out of
about
me.
face.
Also, that girl from Emily in Paris.
Okay, I've never seen her before, but I really liked her.
fans of, she was good.
I think the cast was great, actually.
Yeah,
Everyone was
yeah.
perfect. Even the daughter, who was a fucking nightmare.
Oh, the daughter was adorable, but a pain.
Yeah.
But adorable.
Screaming and behave yourself. Don't bite people.
Yeah.
Then Amy is about to sell her company.
Yeah.
At this point, Danny has found out that she has fucked his brother.
Yeah.
Because she is, after the Las Vegas event, fucks his brother. He has also dropped his cousin in it by getting him... Basically, he sets his cousin up to take the fall for the road rage incident.
Yeah.
To get that woman off Amy's scent and off his scent.
Yeah, and as a result, the cousin goes to prison.
Because he's already on licence. Because he just got out of prison. The cousin then comes out of prison. It's like, you owe me money, I want it now. So they call Amy like, you owe us money and we want it now. And she says, I know a lady who has money. I don't have money, but I know a lady who has money. Oh, they've kidnapped her daughter as well.
Yeah.
Accidentally,
because Danny tried to go and visit the husband who he had grown a friendship with.
Yeah. Husband has now figured out that Danny is not who he says he is because Amy has confessed, I cheated on you with this guy because of the road rage incident.
And he threatened to divorce her, ironically, even though he had been having a physical...
he was having an emotional affair with her assistant.
Yeah.
So everyone converges on this house in the woods and house in the desert, because this is all happening in LA, where the rich white benefactor lives. And basically Amy says, she's got a bunch of fucking crowns here. Why, you should come in here, rob the place, you'll get as much money as you want. They get there. The robbery obviously goes wrong because that's what always happens.
Yeah.
I think Danny's cousin ends up getting shot.
Yeah.
And dies. The accomplices...
that main cousin doesn't. He gets arrested.
Okay, his accomplices get shot.
And some of them do die.
They die. One of them, luckily, doesn't even come into the house, so he misses the whole thing.
The rich benefactor...
tries to make it into her panic room and gets chopped in half by her by the door.
Oh my god, that was horrible.
And Danny leaves with Amy's daughter.
Yeah.
So no, not Danny. Her husband
George
leaves with rescues their daughter and leaves and forgets about Amy.
Yeah.
So then Amy and Danny are the last two people to leave. She's like, you've ruined my life. He's like, you've ruined mine. They get into a second road rage incident.
And this is the one where I was like, this is going to end it all. This is going to end it all. Someone's going to die.
They're driving through the Hollywood Hills and they go off a cliff.
Yeah, both of them.
And that's when the show really taps into its existential crisis because they're sort of wandering around the desert, trying to make it to safety, bruised, battered, potentially have internal bleeding. You just got hit by a car.
And that's the thing. Also, Amy does have a gun with her.
Oh, yes. So they're also grappling for who's in charge of the gun as this goes on. And at one point, she sends Danny off to go foraging to get them food. He gets her these berries. Turns out they're essentially hallucinogenics or poison, who knows.
And a bit of both, I'll be honest.
They take the berries, which make them the most honest they've ever been.
Yeah.
And then they also think they're going to die,
yeah.
which is another reason why they're probably the most honest they've ever been.
That's true.
And actually what you find is they are deeply, deeply similar. And this was the point where I was like, oh, I think what's happening here is that what I want, because of my favourite trope being enemies to lovers in a rom-com, is that because you've set up this enemy storyline, it has to end in lovers.
Yeah.
But actually, what this has been about this whole time is that, like, what both of these people want is to be seen.
And accepted.
Yes, and accepted. And everybody in their life, they are not honest with. So they can never be accepted because you don't know me, really.
Yeah.
And there are several points where Amy tries to sort of have a conversation with her husband, but he's so, like... And I was talking to someone at work and I realised what it was. Nothing bad has ever happened to him.
No.
So he can't connect with... When he's like, listen, everybody experiences depression. And what you have to do is you just got to breathe and let it out and move on.
Because he was born into privilege.
Because he's never been depressed.
No.
That's what that is. You've not experienced it. It's not, oh, I feel bad today. It's this constant boulder on your shoulder that you're like, why can I not just be happy? And that is at the crux of both of these characters.
Yeah.
They think, once I have the thing I want, I'll be happy. So for Amy, if I sell my company, I'll be happy. For Danny, if I become a successful
contractor,
I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And we actually get to see that version of their lives, and they're still not happy.
And then it starts to blow up in their faces.
Because how can you be happy when you're not being your true and honest self?
Yeah.
So you'll bury the darkness, but the darkness is still there. You can never enjoy yourself, and you can never relax. And there's a point where he asks this question, which is such a rom-com trope question to ask, but he says to her, do George and Junie feel like home?
Yeah.
And she says, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, oh, you two are each other's homes for each other.
I was reading something about it that ultimately the two of them are their own soulmates.
Yeah.
Without it being romantic.
Yeah, not romantic.
It's not romantic, but these are people have met each other and realised they have very similar souls, and their souls look at the world in a very similar way. And maybe, I don't think they could have been a couple. They're too chaotic. I think that they're the type of soulmates who they should be friends. Like, bury the hatchet, because there's a lot of revenge ping pong between episodes 1 to 4. But
1 to 7.
Well, yeah, true. So me, the revenge ping pong was very obvious between the early episodes. By the time you got to the end, it was like...
It was just, both of you are shit people doing shit stuff. Yeah,
and I think that's probably why they are soulmates.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like that's why I thought I was in a rom-com, because to me, that is the love that you want more than anything. Yeah, you want romantic love, isn't that really nice? But what you want is to meet, like you said, your soulmate, where it's like, I don't have to even put things into words around you. And you know me. You know. Because I'm you and you're me.
Yeah, and that scene where, in episode 8, and they're looking at each other in the middle of the bush, and they both, they know that death is coming, or they think death is coming because they're hallucinating. And if you look at the dialogue, it is very slow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of silence in between. They're not saying much, but they're saying enough.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it such an interesting scene, because I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm waiting for the eyes to close. I know they're gonna die now, and it's going to be the end of the show. And of course, they keep on surprising us, but it's not. But I was like, is this the? I was like you. I was like, is this the moment? Are they gonna kiss?
Are
Are you gonna kiss right now? I don't know. Like, am I? Oh, do I want to see it? But I can't do. But this is such a nice way to be like, we're forgiving each other.
Yeah, but I feel like to that point about you're me and I'm you.
Yeah.
In that scene, the device that they employ is they are speaking each other's dialogue.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So her lines are his lines and his lines are
I
hers.
forgot about that. Yeah.
They have like merged in that moment finally into like one functional creature, and the idea of soulmates has this Greek origin where there is a myth by Herodotus that says humans were created as these like big round circles, and then the gods got mad at us and they split us in half.
Okay.
And you spend your entire life trying to find your other half, right? Because you are meant to be two.
Come from. Okay.
You're not supposed to be one. So that's where that idea comes from.
Okay.
And I think about that all the time. It's like, oh, I feel like before I read that, I thought the idea of soulmates was like finding a person that you find hot and attractive, but actually it's this person that like you fit with, who you're drawn to, who you're one with.
Yeah.
And when I was at uni, I remember saying to my roommate, like, you and I make one functional human being.
Yeah.
Like, all the things I lack, you have, and all the things that you lack, I have. Together, we are one functional human being.
Yeah.
So we can operate like one unit. Yeah. You decide what we're going to eat. I decide what we're going to wear. You decide where we're going to go. Like, we didn't have any problems.
Yeah.
The times where we had problems were the bits that revealed that we were, in fact, not soulmates, which is that, like, there are things that you need that I don't. I can't fulfill, and there's things that I need that you can't fulfill.
Yeah.
Whereas your true soulmate is the idea that perfect mesh.
Yeah.
Like, we functioned as one human being as two brains, but not as two hearts, necessarily.
I think in the Bible it's more like the rib. Like, God took one rib from Adam to make Eve, and like, you're always looking for, like, Christian men will joke, like, I'm looking for my Eve, I'm looking for my missing rib. But yeah, I get what you mean. Like, it's that weird connection between two people that you would not, I mean, in this sense, you would not expect them to be.
It's otherworldly. You can't even really put a name to it.
No.
Like, I can count my hand the amount of times I've met people where I've been like, this is kind of spooky. Like, where they've been like, their life is like a weirdly parallel to mine.
Yeah. I don't think I met many, apart from like, as I mentioned before, in terms of the friendship group and seeing the parallels we've had growing up, I think it's been few and far between where I've seen that as much. Maybe that's my one. Maybe that's the not my missing rib. The rib I need to join.
You're the half.
Yeah.
For you to be a whole. It's quite a sad...
you can be a whole and meet another whole and become a...
No, it's not about...
A whole.
It's not... Listen, that... I feel like, obviously...
Yeah.
The wording has all these connotations now.
Yeah.
But the idea is just that, like...
You meet someone that completes you, or you complete each other.
No, that there is like a pit in your stomach, right? And when you meet someone who you find attractive... It's not to say that you're not whole.
Yeah.
It's just like... There's a puzzle piece missing.
Yeah.
And when you meet someone, you're like, he's hot, he's great, but his puzzle piece doesn't necessarily fit in this gap.
Yeah.
And then there's this person who, for whatever reason, I've never met him before, I met him tonight, I know he's the puzzle piece.
Yeah.
I just know he's the puzzle piece.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking the really sad thing about that myth is that, like, realistically, they were like, oh, there'll be people who will live their lives and never find their other half.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh God, that's so depressing. But yeah, we're on a planet of 7 billion people.
Yeah.
What if my other half lives in Timbuktu?
Book a flight.
Hello, I'm here.
It's me
other
you're
half,
looking for.
Here? Other half? It's like, no, he's in San Francisco. Like, fuck's
Book
sake.
another flight.
I'm not made of money. Can you come to me?
This is where it's another show where it's just
one
girl
book a flight.
book a flight to find her match. But yeah,
no, that's it's one of my favourite myths actually, because
it's very interesting.
It just sort of, I don't know, so much of it's like a myth, but it's honestly a philosophical thing. It's like so much of that stuff is like you get to pick what you prescribe to, and if you prescribe to the idea of the other half, then you kind of, I guess, have to make peace with there's a good chance you might not meet them, but there's also a chance you will, and won't that be lovely to just, to be able to, like, operate on an almost hive mind with this person.
Yeah.
And that is what I felt like this show did really well. And we don't have many shows that just explore a platonic friend, again, friendship loosely, because they're enemies, but, like, where it's not like, and they're gonna have sex.
No, it's just a connection between two people.
Yeah, it's just two people who are like, and I think you need me, and I think I need you. Yeah, actually.
And the fact that it's like I was gonna say man and woman, but like there's nothing sexual behind it. Because I think, but the fact that she slept with the brother, I felt like that almost
there is something sexual about it behind it, but in a like, but not in a I want to have sex with you. In a like I want to.
There was an intrigue,
a curiosity about like, will this get me closer to you?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, will I know you more for having had sex with your brother? Do you think? Also, no, but like,
I know what you mean. But
I want to conquer whatever this situation is. Yeah, and if I fuck your brother, then I'm in control again.
Yeah, because it was a power play. It was a ping pong of power plays and revenge.
He's drawn to the nude of her.
Yeah.
Is that you're drawn to me, isn't it?
It's interesting.
Can't leave me alone, obsessed with me.
And I think I'm so done. And I think it's really interesting you having a character like the husband who you could tell is like there is nothing there. Even though he's very attractive, there is nothing there.
And he's kind.
He's kind.
He looks
like,
after his
and
child.
He looks like he's the perfect cookie cutter husband that a character like Amy would want, but there's nothing there.
He's a perfect example. The perfect, I think, phrasing is he's the guy that you want, but not necessarily the guy that you need.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Ooh. And so it was.
Look at us in hive mind. Maybe we're soulmates.
Well, I'm joking. But I'm going to But what I'm going to say, like, I think it was so interesting to see that as well, because I think it's almost in a very indirect and inherent way saying, look, there'll be some men out there that you think he's perfect, he looks great, he's the 6 foot, 6 figure, 6 this, and he's
6 penises.
And he's not the one.
No, because he's not for you.
But there's the guy that is decent. He's actually, you know what? We're not gonna use Danny because
he's decent.
He's all right.
He's got nothing going for himself.
He's medium ugly, but he'll do.
No, the thing is, he could be cute. The problem is, he really has nothing going for him.
Yeah, and then he's like, "But
you
this
live
is your
in a
soulmate."
motel with your brother. Your business is failing.
The arson part was really sad as well. When after everything was going well,
that was sad.
It was sad. Everything was going well for Danny.
It was an accident, right? It was a wiring.
Yeah, but he did.
Yeah.
So it was just like
everything is. Yeah, and that's what I thought was clever about the show.
Yeah.
Nothing just happened.
No.
Everything came back to something that they had made happen themselves.
Yeah.
I really like that.
And then just one last point about A24 and the cinematography. I did say last week in the review that, or when we kind of introduced Beef, that I'm going to expect the cinematography to be on another level. And like, I was not disappointed, basically. No. Like, I thought the way the show was shot was engaging. It was experimental at times. There was some on the nose parts with like the birds talking to each other. I loved like how they brought in, I mean, the tale of the witch and how they characterized and represented it in Amy's life and how her parents were as well. Yeah. Again, another representation of like families from minorities where they don't really talk about things, and I think a lot of families do. Like, I think it's not even a minority thing.
But it's so dark to be like. I mean, I don't think my parents were absolutely perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but at least they weren't saying about how they didn't want me in front of me. Are you crazy?
No wonder this girl's got a complex.
Of course. I grew up learning from an early age. Nobody fucking wants me here. Yeah.
And I'm a financial burden. Think about it.
I remember my aunt started telling my cousins about bills, and I was like, "Why would you do that?"
Yeah.
And at that time, I was 15, and I was like, I wouldn't tell my sister about bills. What use as a primary school child learning about bills?
If they later on when they're starting to,
are you paying the bill?
Yeah.
You don't need to know about it.
No, exactly. When it gets to the point where they're not about to go to university, but when they're getting older, when they're starting to work and understand what the value of money is, because they're starting to earn money, I think there's a space to talk about it. But if you're talking about money in the sense that, look how expensive you kids are, that creates a complex already about money from such a young age.
I think even telling them we don't have money for bills is crazy. Yeah. I don't have my brain is not able to comprehend what that even means. Don't tell me about that.
No. But yeah, I
put a smile on your face and put some beans on that plate. The fuck?
Well, unfortunately, I think it's more like for some people that they live in poverty and they have to be real. Like, this is what we're going through at the moment.
No, you couldn't really make it feel like it's exciting.
Yeah.
I remember when my mum was on the summers when my nan would go to Ghana and my mum was looking after us. She would go to work and then come back at lunchtime, give us lunch and then go back to work.
Oh my god!
And we'd always have Greggs for lunch, and I was like, this is so fancy.
Yeah.
I've never had a pastry before. I thought we was living it up.
We have to survive.
Sausage roll for lunch. Look at me. I thought we was rich. I didn't know I was poor until I was like 17 years old.
I knew that we were poor.
I didn't.
It was.
Yeah. I knew I wasn't rich, but I was like, "Oh, we're poor. Oh, we're poor." Like, is this how you guys are living? Go to my friend's house and be like, "Sorry, you guys got that house."
Oh yeah, I think because
you can walk from the floor into your home.
Yeah,
that's
different.
Bad.
Yeah,
no lift.
No.
You don't have 18 neighbours up above you and next to you and below you. That's mad. That's nice. That's nice. You guys are living well, honey.
No, it's a different life, let's just say. Like, again, it's the whole, like, it's a whole idea of, like, poverty mentality and in the surviving versus thriving. Yeah. Please listen to the episode where we talked about it with Love is Blind. And
it was 2 episodes ago?
Yes, yeah. And it's definitely worth a listen because I think it didn't mean to go into that conversation, but I think it was the right point. But anyway, that was beef. I have nothing else to add. Ooh.
There is one thing to add.
Go on.
So, as you know, Shoshanna and I absolutely enjoyed beef and we thought it was incredible.
Oh, yeah, there's something else we need to talk about.
If you Google beef Netflix right now, the first articles that will come up is David Choe, I don't know Daniel Choe, sorry, who plays the cousin Isaac, Daniel's cousin Isaac, is embroiled in a scandal that is marring the show, I would say. Because if I Google your show and the first thing that comes up is Daniel Choe is a rapist, I'm probably not going to watch this show now. Yeah. I had already watched the show at this point, and I'm glad I had.
Same.
Because all this stuff floating around it would put me off. But basically, trigger warning, sexual assault, David Choe was on a podcast where he told a story where he had gone to see a masseuse, and during the massage, he decided to start masturbating. The masseuse was then uncomfortable, and he said, "Oh, can you just pretend like I'm not doing it?" She continued the massage, and then at some point, he, trigger warning, grabbed her head and forced it onto his penis. That is the story that he tells on. Oh, and he says, you know, I better be careful because I could end up in jail or whatever. That's the story. When beef came out, this clip resurfaced. Yeah. David Choe filed an copyright infringement claim with Twitter and with TikTok. So anybody who posts this clip now, it immediately gets banned. It's really hard, basically, for you to watch this clip. I read a transcript. Yeah. He's saying it was a joke. It's incredibly graphic for a joke, I would say. So at the bare minimum, this is something you have thought about or fantasized about, which you felt like it was okay to at least express as if it was true on a podcast. I don't know if it's better to live in a world where there is someone who would do something like that, or to live in a world with someone who thinks about doing something like that. People, understandably, are like, why is Steve Yeun and Ali Wong not saying anything about this? Because this clip was from 2014. So basically everyone's saying we find it really hard to believe that this was not something that they knew about going into filming the series. So now everyone's like, basically you guys have created a situation that tarnishes this incredible work of art and your own reputations over this alleged rapist in his own words.
Yeah.
And I'd watched the show at this time when I found this out, and it honestly really upset me, and I didn't know what to feel about it, because whenever people say you've got to separate the art from the artist, I just feel like, no, you're trans shit. You can't, and often you can't.
It's hard.
And in this situation, I was like, I really wish I could separate the art from the artist, actually, because I genuinely thought this show was really good.
And it's ironic when you say artist, because David Choe did create a lot of the graphics and the art.
All the
images.
title images are his art. And I feel like I've seen a couple of clips where he's also made sort of really deadpan jokes. There is a universe where he did actually think that was a really funny story to tell. Yeah. It wasn't.
No.
I should also share that some the other podcast people are like, oh, what does she look like? About this person that he allegedly raped, and he was like, oh, half black, half white. And they're like, huge tits. And she's like, yeah, huge tits.
What so podcast was this?
Everyone bar the woman at the time. People have now also unearthed clips where the woman from the clip is problematic. Yeah. But there is one woman on this podcast who says, you know you are describing sexual assault. And he's basically like, well, you know, it is what it is. There was a time where making rape jokes like that was edgy.
Yeah.
That I feel like, oh, okay, that could be true that he told that as a joke, but it's not funny.
No.
And it's honestly, it's terrifying. I'm sorry, it's just scary.
It's the fact that he thinks that it's acceptable, one, to do that, and two, talk about it in such a nonchalant way, and for him to also not realise that is sexual assault.
No, he knew.
He knew. He knew.
Said, I'll probably get arrested for this. But it was the fact she didn't want it that made it sexy.
Oh,
he said something to that
Lord
effect.
Help us.
I'm not saying it accurately here, but it's something to the effect of like, it's the unwanted release that makes it. Yeah. He had like very particular wording for it, but like
his character in the show is unhinged, and I was thinking, well, you know, this guy is really playing this character well, and sometimes the character replicates life.
Do you know what's so annoying? I really enjoyed him in the first half of the series.
Same.
When that episode where even in that first episode where he takes him out, they go out to eat, and he's like, "Yeah, so I need some money." He's like, "Well, you can't even say hello, nothing. Do some little small talk." I was like, "Oh." That's so true. That's so cheeky of him. I was like, the energy of Cousin Isaac. Well, you can't have nothing nice.
No.
There are people on the internet saying, well, you know what the problem is? It's because he did it to a black woman.
It's not.
We are saying that's why he's not going to be held accountable for it. Because at the moment, it seems like he isn't being held accountable for it because he is the one banning anyone talking about it.
But just on those platforms, because someone could come out and talk about it on media.
I mean, the victim, if there's a victim exists, could absolutely come out and talk about it. What can you do? You can't stop me talking about it. Yeah. But it's people sharing the clip. Yeah. So then it's just a bunch of people tweeting, "Oh, this dude's rapey," but then they can't share the evidence. If it's true, well, okay, no, go back a step. It made me really unhappy, and it soured the experience of watching the show for me.
Yeah.
And I've kind of been thinking, and maybe this is a topic for another time, but like, what do we actually do in situations like this? Because it's not like he's the lead creative.
No.
It's not like he's the leading star. He didn't write it, he didn't direct it. Yeah, they use his art for the title cards, but they could easily swap that out. Who cares?
Yeah.
Why do I feel bad still?
I think there's,
It feels icky.
It feels icky, and I think going back to like the Jonathan Majors conversation we had earlier, if allegedly, whatever the news and whatever the results are going to come out from the court case about Jonathan Majors happens, and the allegations that have been made come to life and are 100% true, his career is going to end. And I think for many people, they'll be relieved that you've nipped it in the bud so that he would not do these type of things again. I think why this experience feels a little bit soured by the news is because it's all done now. Like, Beef is really being released. It's got incredible critical acclaim. And between 2014 and now, this guy's been able to work. Who knows if he's been doing this for other women? And that has been acceptable. And I think that's why it feels odd, because this guy has been able to work behaving in a certain manner or thinking that certain behaviour is acceptable. And things that he's done in his past, he has not been taken account of and made accountable for. Whereas something like a Jonathan Majors is it will be happening. He will face his day in court. And so I think why it feels frustrating is because you'll find out after the fact. Because I think you find out about this while they were filming and they still kept him on. You may have chosen not to watch it. And I think some people may have not either.
Yeah.
And I think also, we talked about this off air, like, do you have to check all your talent? Can you check all your talent?
Yeah.
It's hard.
I feel like that's definitely a big part of it. I feel like the other thing is, like, thinking about all the people that work on the show.
Yeah.
Like, imagine you're the set designer.
Yeah.
Imagine you're the costume designer. Imagine if you're the guy who did the lighting, cinematography. All these people that haven't done anything wrong, whose hard work is now marred by one bad apple. And even, I hate saying one bad apple because it's so prevalent in this industry now that saying one bad apple isn't inaccurate.
I mean, look at Harvey Weinstein, for goodness sake. Like, this guy ran Hollywood for years.
Kevin Spacey.
You can
name people.
Bill Cosby.
We were saying off air, I think you would struggle to find a production where there isn't at least one person who's got into some sort of trouble. That would make you be like, oh.
Yeah.
Ezra Miller.
I still don't know the background as to what happened, but I know it wasn't good.
He assaulted multiple women.
What?
He'd been in trouble for attacking a woman at a bar already.
Flipping heck.
Before that, there was a video of a fan where he, like, pushed her to the ground or something, and then the fan came out and was like, I asked him to do that. And we were like, I don't know. Because you're like a teenager, he's like 25, it's a bit weird. And then the latest thing was that he had a woman in his house with her children, potentially against her will, while he had loaded guns in the house. And the police had come to do a welfare check on that woman because her family had been like, where is she?
Yeah. She
She said she was going to meet Ezra Miller, and we haven't seen her since, and found a child nibbling on a bullet.
What?
And then there are stories of him grooming another fan to try and get, when you turn 18 you should fly out and come, like, just like a bunch of question mark shit. It's like,
He's not in any projects, is he?
No, but that's a perfect example of someone who was playing the Flash, had a high enough profile, and was still just doing fucking weird, evil side quests on the side that I always really liked up until that point. And now, then you're sitting there being like, so can I enjoy the films that you were in anymore? I don't know, because were you this person when you were making this film? Because I don't want any of the bad juju to transfer to me.
No, it's hard.
And that's the thing I can't get my head around. It's like, I want what it would feel like to be creative, working on something. Yeah. And then for the only press about your show to be about a guy tried to rape someone, and you're like, oh great. What about my costumes? It's like, no one gives a fuck about your costumes, Barbara. Shove it up your ass, Barbara. There's a rapist around.
Not Barbara.
Poor Barbara. Or you're a high-profile talent attached to a show like this, like Steve Yeun, like Ali Wong, and everyone's saying, why aren't you saying anything? Why aren't you saying anything? So now I'm like, it is weird she's not saying anything. Do I have to not like her? Because I really did like her before, and I really didn't like him.
Everyone is being dragged and pulled into this web. I don't know. This is one of the wait and sees. Like, we'll see if there will be a response about David and what if there's anything that's going to change in the show. They can't reshoot. They can't change that.
They're not going to,
and they don't need to. They don't need to at this stage because it's already been done. But it's very sad that we are, Hollywood is so corrupt.
Yeah. And then the worst thing is that I think that one, that Hollywood is so corrupt, but on top of that like the PR machine is operating before anyone's actual genuine moral obligation.
Yeah.
So Ali Wong might want to say something, but if her agents say it's better for you to just not address this because we're hoping this will blow over, then she doesn't address it. And then too much time passes, turns out he has done it, everyone's like, you backed rapist, and now she's suddenly like, I would never back, and we were like, fuck you. You can't win. Because if she came out now and was like, I would never work, but you did.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but we don't trust you.
Yeah.
You're stuck.
Oh, that's frustrating, man.
It's scary, bro. And it just really sucks because obviously I love film and I love TV and I just hate.
Yeah.
Like, people who like car racing, do they have to deal with scandals like this all day, every day?
There are scandals, but like...
Not to this... I don't think it's to this degree, surely. No. Anyway.
Oh, okay. On that note...
Shall we give it... What are we rating out? 5?
What are we rating?
Scandal aside.
Yeah, it has to be scandal aside.
Scandal aside, I'm saying this is a 4.5. What did I give the bear?
Yeah, what did we give the bear? I think it was 4.5.
I do think the bear's slightly better. Because it's funnier.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I would rank it slightly.
So for the bear, we gave it... Sorry.
We never ranked it.
We ranked it.
The bear was so perfect, we just couldn't give it a number.
We both gave it 4.5.
Wow.
And I think...
Actually, no, I'm standing by this. I think this is a 4.5 as well.
This is the best thing I've watched, as I said at the beginning. The best thing I've watched this year so far. I think I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Yeah, I'm standing by it.
Like, it was enjoyable.
David Choe sucks and he can eat my ass, but everybody else works so fucking hard.
Yeah.
And honestly, the show would have been the same without him.
Yeah, so, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, 4.5.
Yeah, 4.5. I was really impressed by the performances, especially Ali Wong. I've not seen her in anything before, so it was really nice to see her in this role.
Paul, hit me up.
George, hit me up.
Paul, hit me up. When they were like in that first episode, like doing the weights, and I was like, it's so funny because Stevie was like, oh, you're taking too long. I'm like, you need to spend more time on the weights. He's perfect.
I'm so done.
Why are you acting like he needs to work out?
Paul,
you need to work out.
Paul looks very young. How old is he in real life?
He was like 25.
Yeah, it's too young. But George, call me.
George is dopey.
I don't care. He looks good looking. I mean, age appropriate, about 25. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm in fact 28, so that's perfectly fine.
I'm so finished. But yeah, this was it was a good show. I know that the controversy...
Yeah, controversy aside, honestly, I would recommend it.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that has been Beef. And...
Next week,
we're going to move from beef to shrinking.
Ooh.
Which is...
Shrinking beef.
Shrinking beef, indeed.
That only happens to men.
Oh, God. It is on Apple Plus. I have not got Apple Plus at the moment. It is on Apple Plus.
Use mine.
I may need to.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah, I may need to. And I'm really excited about it. It stars...
So am I. Harrison Ford's in it.
Yeah, and the other guy from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Jason Segel.
Jason Segel from all of those Seth Rogen movies.
Yes.
I didn't watch How You Met Your Mother, but I love Jason Segel.
I loved How I Met Your Mother. He's
great in... What's that one where he goes on and Russell Brand's in it? Forget Sarah Marshall.
Oh, yeah. So that's going to be really exciting. Looking forward to giving that a watch. The last thing I was going to say, going back to Beef.
Oh.
Series 2, do you think there's a space for us as a second series?
Series 2, I feel like Series 2, they are now one.
Yeah.
They have a new enemy. We're working together to bring that person down.
Oh. I don't think you need a Series 2.
And then at the end of Series 3, pregnant.
Yeah, basically,
End of series 3, they find a baby.
Yeah, and then
they're like, we're gonna have to raise this baby.
All I know is that if there's any consequence series, there needs to be a couple. Or the couple, the relationship has to develop so there's something romantic.
They're a duo. I don't think it has to be romantic. They're a duo. It is platonic and sexy and hot. End of series 3, they find a baby in a basket. They decide they're going to raise this baby together. Just like I was saying at the top. Look at this, full circle. Raise a baby with your best friend.
It's so interesting. So interesting. But let's wait and see if it gets commissioned for series 2.
I mean, after this fucking drama, I don't think so. It's a damn shame.
I don't think so. But that being said, the story was incredible that you could really just keep it contained to one.
Yeah.
But looking forward to Shrink In.
Oh.
No, I'm looking forward to watching Shrink In next week.
I'm looking forward to going to sleep.
Yeah, it's been a long day, but it's been worth it.
We love you guys so much.
Yeah. So
and also thank you for all the birthday wishes I'm saying in advance.
I'm so finished.
Thank you guys. You fill our life with love and happiness.
Yeah. For this has been Scripts and Giggles with Shoshanna.
And it's the birthday girl. Her name is Marnie. She's a birthday girl.
Why? Also, why were you like crooning like a country girl? I thought you were gonna do like a Stevie Wonder Happy Birthday type of song, not I'm a country girl, whatever.
Dude, my favourite type of singing solely in your nostrils is what I used to do. Birthday girl.
Okay, we're gonna now wrap this up, but thanks again. Bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.